Welcome back aboard Blurred Force One with your boy Mo, and today I'm reviewing Godzilla Minus One, the new movie in theaters right now. So, what did I think about it, and should you be watching? And before we get into this review, get down there, hit like on this video. Well, Godzilla returns to the big screen to tear up Japan in this Touhou produced modern reinterpretation of the classic film. It's steeped in the Cold War and atomic age mythology of the original, but this film adds themes of post-war survival and found family. It's handsomely produced, and when it's really going with the Godzilla content, it's excellent. Where it falls short for me is that it seems to be two different movies that step on each other's toes, and only in the third act do they manage to mesh them together coherently. The story is about Koichi Shikishima, a failed kamikaze pilot whose cowardice puts him in the path of a younger and smaller Godzilla and gets a company of men killed. Returning to Tokyo in disgrace, he encounters a young woman and the orphan child she's adopted, and they just sort of become a family. He becomes a minesweeper out on the coast of Japan, and that puts him squarely in Godzilla's path, as the now nuclear-powered and destructive monster destroys naval ships on its way to the Japanese mainland. Cold War politics, for some reason, prevents American, Soviet, and Japanese governments from doing anything about the problem, so a civilian plan is hatched to take out Godzilla, and Koichi gets a chance to redeem his failures and bury his past. I will say, Koichi's probably the main reason I didn't really connect with the human stories in this movie. Mainly because, he's the central, hub around which all of the other spokes of the human stories sort of revolve. For most of the movie, he's kind of one note and even a little unlikable in some ways. It's probably because of his PTSD. That's why he's distant from everyone, or he keeps things inside. But keeping everyone at arm's length just kind of rubs the wrong way for me. His insistence that the little girl Akiko, who's I guess his sort of adopted daughter, but not really, he insists that she not call him dad. And that is such an egregious little, character flaw that even other characters in the movie give him shit about it, and rightfully so. The only times he seems really to shine for me is when there's mortal peril from Godzilla's wrath. The first chase scene in the movie, when they're out on the water with Godzilla on their tail like he's Jaws, his heroics in that are really pretty good. You get plenty of emotion out of him. Then it's just very strange that outside of that he's just so bottled up. And I'll take a moment to admit something, that I'm probably culturally biased here when it comes to the dramatic performances in this movie. I wasn't terribly moved by them, to be honest. And I will say with Koichi, somewhat annoyed, if I'm being honest. I recognize that some of these moments are supposed to be big and dramatic scenes that are playing out, but just kind of a little melodramatic, a little over the top, or entirely too subdued. It's all felt like I was watching anime. And I admit this is probably because I don't have a lot of exposure to Japanese, live action media, and anime is really kind of the way I've found my way into the culture. So, hey, I'm just putting that out there. Maybe my lack of enjoyment, at least of the human stories, comes from that. But, to be fair, the rest of the cast, they are, much more animated, much more emotive than Koichi himself, but they unfortunately are a bit lazy in the stereotypes, especially considering that this is a genre film. It seems like there's a lot of shorthand so that you'll quickly understand who these people are. You got the gruff ship's captain, the science nerd, the overly boisterous kid, or in this case young man. You got the acerbic auntie, and intense and speechifying general. Just check them off of the genre boxes. Yes. The nominal love interest Noriko, it seems like she's going to have a lot more character, but then she ends up being sort of relegated to child rearing, and eventually she's the catalyst that gets, ignites Koichi's desire for revenge against Godzilla, kind of wakes him up out of his, PTSD funk and gets him, ready and raring to go. And which, I mean, this is something that happens in genre films, but it's still sort of annoying. This is a more modern reinterpretation. Does the woman really have to be, essentially the spark that lights this guy's fire? Come on. That this genre movie leans so heavily on tropes isn't exactly surprising, but some subversion or reinterpretation would have been nice. When the movie finally decides to switch gears from a post-war family drama to a kaiju movie, it really shines. Like, Godzilla is easily the most terrifying and brutal we've ever seen. Like, even considering the modern American versions of Godzilla, where he's treated a little bit more like, a destructive hurricane and less like a monster with intention and also some vindictiveness. And I have to be honest, the destruction we see here is probably about the most visceral we could get without it being a gore fest. This is a PG-13 movie after all. The on-the-street view of the disaster captures the chaos and fear perfectly. I can even excuse some of the convenient plot devices that go on during these action sequences because they're just so great to watch unfold. The atomic age imagery and natural disaster aesthetic really drive home the menace of Godzilla. And Godzilla himself, beautifully realized as he stomps buildings to dust, squishes civilians under his giant feet, and creates mushroom clouds with his atomic heat ray. The final battle with Godzilla is also appropriately ridiculous. I mean, this is a kaiju movie after all. And it is rife with scientific gibberish. I mean, it's the final plan is ridiculous. And it requires a lot of stretching of imagination. And I don't care. I love it. This is the sort of thing that I come to a Godzilla movie for in the first damn place. Ridiculous pseudoscience and destruction. And so in the final battle, it's a throwback to like really the OG Godzilla movie. And the unfolding of the final battle plan to defeat Godzilla is thrilling. It really is. I mean, you wouldn't think that, a bunch of boats on the water and rope and just one plane will be all, that thrilling, but it is really, really fun to watch. It also, the plan makes no sense that it works, and yet it's working. It's fun to see that. And I mean, there's appropriate like, oh no, this part's failing, or this thing's, we just got to hold on. We can't make it. It's just cool stuff. And then they even take the time to do a Star Wars homage, complete with the Millennium Falcon coming back to save, kind of for the save, and a trench run. Koichi, he's given his chance to bury his past failures and the debt he feels he owes to the dead. And he does so in a dramatic fashion in the kind of the finale of that battle. And so, of course, it's a genre movie. Everything ends well and all that stuff, and there's people are reunited, and all these things happen. It's a good emotional kind of resolution for Koichi, for Noriko, just for the whole crew. Everyone, theoretically, everyone should have been dead. Let's be honest. But this is a genre movie where everything's got to come out all good. And of course, this isn't going to be the last we see of Godzilla. So, all that said, overall, I like Godzilla -1. I really did. Look, it looks great. Absolutely looks great. Sounds great. Pays homage to the past, but adds some modern flair to it. And it gives us probably about the best Godzilla we've seen in a while. It works best when it's a full-on monster movie, when it knows what it is. Had the human stories been more about surviving Godzilla and less about the internal drama of Koichi's family life, I'd be praising this movie to the moon. But that part, for me, dragged the movie down, a bit. But if you like giant monster movies, I think it's absolutely worth checking out on the biggest screen you can find, because Godzilla wreaking havoc on the Japanese coastline and city and Tokyo is absolutely worth the price of admission. So that's what I thought about this movie. What did you guys think about it? What did you think about what I had to say? Get down to the comment section, leave your thoughts there. And of course, you can always hit me up, supernotfunnyshow@gmail.com or at supernotfunnys1 on Twitter. And while you're down there, do me a favor, hit like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell. All that good stuff helps to grow this channel, helps more people to see videos just like this. All right, thanks for joining me. Come back to the channel. Got plenty more reviews. Until then, I've been Mo, your commentator extraordinaire on all things pop culture. And I'll see you guys on the other side of the thread. Peace.